it's like this Melon app, and I got it. Bro, I've been paying for this. I didn't realize it's like $9 a month, but I've been paying for this for like 6 months, and I've used it like once or twice at the very most, and I haven't done anything with it. Let me see if this pops up on my Twitter. If not, then I can share the link. Um, I think it'll show up. Oh yeah, it does show up. There we go.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah,
Yes.
she's under my name. Yeah,
Do Lakers want the 5 seed? Ooh, it's a little catchy. That's nice.
yeah. So there should be. Can you see the chat? There should be a chat. I think a little chat option
Uh,
for you to see. I don't think there's any messages that have come in yet, but I'm just gonna put
uh,
that.
yeah, I don't know how to see the chat. I wouldn't know.
Let me
It's a little
see.
behind, so it's freaking me out. Like it's not live to like what we're saying. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
right,
like
right,
it's a
yeah.
couple of seconds behind. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. You can see a little message pop up there. James popped up. Can you see that message that popped up just now on the screen?
Uh, is it on the Melon app or is it on the Twitter thing?
No, it'll be on the stream itself. You should be able to
Oh,
see
I
it.
see the chat. Yes, I do see it.
You see
Gotcha.
it? All right,
Gotcha. Yes,
cool.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. We
All right, you
want
see the
blood.
chat.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's
what's
the
up,
right
everybody?
attitude.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Welcome to yet another conversation about Lakers basketball with me and Raj. We wanted to. I bugged Raj. Raj was busy, and the game today. I don't know if you watched the NCAA game. The game was pretty boring. But
I did, yes. Regretted it, but yes, I did. I did
yeah,
watch the UConn versus San Diego
yeah.
State game.
Here, maybe this view is a little bit better. Hopefully, people can see. So yeah, the game was kind of boring, and I saw on the timeline there was a lot of discussion about after the Warriors lost last night, about like uh, the force, whether the Lakers want the 6 seed or the 7 seed or whether we want the 5 seed. And I'm pretty like open. I want the 5 seed. Like I don't want to play
Yeah,
this game of, oh well, if we win all these games and it's like the last game of the season, we can lose one and then we can take the 6 seed and then let somebody else deal with the Suns. I'm like, no, I don't want to risk anything. Just win all your games. Don't leave it up to chance to anybody else, because I mean, one loss could send us to like the 8 seed or the 9 seed
yeah,
if things don't go our way. So I really didn't want to risk it, but I thought it'd be a fun conversation to have. I have reasons. I have real basketball reasons for why I'd rather play the
right.
Suns. But what do you think about that? Where are you like when it comes to like the Lakers seeding and all that jazz?
So I'm still Vinay in the grateful phase, you know what I mean? Like I feel like we just got out of like hell, and people are already like, let me get to the third part of heaven, you know what I mean? Like where's all the food at? I'm like, man, we just got out of the fire. I just want to enjoy that. But no, I'm still in that phase. I was looking back, like just to put perspective into stuff. We were the 13th seed on February 25th, Renee. We were 24 and 28, okay? This is February 25. The next game is in Dallas. LeBron, forgot the exact terminology on his injury, but that he got hurt the next day. 13th seed, 4 games under 500. And then obviously us and Dallas do an absolutely, we go in two opposite ways of the spectrum there. But yeah, I'm just in like, let's just get in. Like, I don't want to play these games. You coined the term. I think basketball gods are always watching, and I'm very much into that. I totally agree with that
Yes.
statement. You don't want to tempt them. And look, you do things right, and things work out, right? You do things
Yeah.
right. LeBron came back. We played the right way. Every single team we needed to lose lost on Sunday somehow, some magical way. So I'm right there, man. Whoever we get in the first round, obviously, I think like if all things equal, I think you're in the minority. You're in the minority of this, where you're like, bring me Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I'm more in the if we can, like, but I don't think anyone's in the right space to be choosing, because you don't want to be in that playing game where you have to lose. You have to play with your life on the line. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
at, man. But it's fun to be back in these conversations. I really can't believe it. Like we're here. We
Yeah,
have,
it's true.
I was messaging you that national people are like picking us to go to the finals with like
Yeah,
zero
which is
caveats,
nuts.
zero like I know none of that. Like it's just yeah, Lakers can go to the finals. OKC, let's talk about them next. It's like wow, that's we're in like an insane part right now.
It's only been, we played 20 games since the deadline, and it's just crazy how like a year and a half's worth of just kind of trying to figure things out. Whose fault is it? Whose not fault is it? Switching out the coaches, um, basically turning over the roster with like 13 of the players basically turning over more or less, four or 12 of the players turning over more or less, and then being in a position where we have real playoff aspirations and contending aspirations, which like there's a little bit of exceptionalism with that, like the
Hmm.
fans are going to go all the way, but it's just, yeah, hearing Zach Lowe say, well, do they have a chance? Maybe they do if they have a certain route and stuff like that. And I think like you and I both agree that like it's definitely something that, like, if the chips fall, some things fall in our direction, it could work out that way. But really, all we can do as all the Lakers can do as a team is just take care of the games that are in front of them and play the guys that they have in front of them. So yeah, I agree with you. I think we're like in unexpected territory right now too. So it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know, like I don't know what your timeline's like, but my timeline's like it's not extreme. I mean, Lakers Twitter is always extreme, but it's like there's a part of it that's like they're going, like, people are just like, yeah, we're going all the way, and some people are like, no, no, just hold back, and some people are like, no, we don't know if there'll be enough time. LeBron doesn't look like he's all the way there, whatever it is. And so the reason I have so much optimism, or I'm ready to play like KD and Booker, because a lot of people think that they're the team to beat, now that they're
yeah,
healthy and everybody's back, just on the strength of the talent and the experience that they have. um but for me, it's like, look, if we lose in the first round or we lose in the second round, it basically doesn't matter. Like, honestly, like, because it's about championships really for us. Like, I know for you and me, we do extract more from that, because even if we lose without winning a championship, you and I are going to be like, well, look, this was really good in the playoffs. If we bring
yeah,
this guy back, we can carry it in and stuff like that. But the reality is, in sports media, and if you're a Braun fan and AD fan, whatever it is, or if you're a hardcore Lakers fan, like, you just care about the championship. You don't really care about anything else. So for me, it's like, if we knock the Suns out in the first round, hypothetically, if we knock them
yeah.
out, like, can you imagine how much momentum this team and confidence this team will have? So it's just like, dude, just give it to me now. Like, let me play them now and let me take them out now. Like, I was jokingly telling people that, I wasn't jokingly, I was pretty serious. I was just like I need Braun to put his best friend in the dirt in the first round. Like, Chris Paul needs to go down, because after he tried to injure him and stuff, he's kind of doing some stuff that was a little uh, dicey the last time we played. Like, I think it would be good, man. Like, I think it would be good for us to, like, no team has seen us. Like, my concern
Sure.
is this: like, if Braun is still ramping up, my basketball reason is they play at a pace that will work for us, will work for LeBron and AD. But like Sacramento and Memphis, they're just gonna run all the time, and that
Yeah.
can be exhausting over a 7 game series. So it's just, I'm
So,
that's my,
so
like, that go over it, go over it.
no, I was gonna say no. So I know we're gonna get in the weeds here into the details and stuff, but before
Yeah,
that, so my question for you, because I've been asked this, and I think I wouldn't have answered it this way if the 2 years like didn't go this way. But my question to you is like, what's a successful season, right? Because I think that has changed, right? Like
yeah,
again, I think the wording and where the team was is it's being lost in translation so much. But hey, LeBron went down. Remember this. The wording was, let's see if they can stay in the play-in hunt.
yeah,
That was the terminology. That was the wording. Instead, they go 14-7.
yeah,
LeBron just came back, didn't even play well in most of those games. I think he
yeah.
wasn't even like had to turn, his motor on in the way that you would expect. What is a successful season? Is it like, let's say they match up with the Suns and they go 7? Is that a successful season in terms of where it started, or is it still, because I think the championship stuff can kind of, those two things can kind of coexist together.
Yeah.
But I just like, to me, Vinay, I can't envision like LeBron and AD going out sad. Like I can't see that
Right,
if they're
right.
both
Yeah.
healthy, right? I just can't envision them going out sad. So my question to you is like, what's a successful season? Or if they like, I think honestly, if we get Sacramento in the first round, we're gonna be favored. How
Oh my
crazy
God.
that sounds!
I'm gonna
I'm
be
not even
posting.
kidding
I'm
you.
gonna be posting so many Tim Donaghy memes if we get them in the first round. I was
Oh, it's a
joking. I was joking with some
it's
Laker
already
friends.
It's already
Yeah.
started. You should. I don't know if you listen to the Hoop Collective, but man, Tim Bontemps is just absolutely beside himself already. Things haven't even started yet, but He's
No,
already beside himself.
there's a friend of mine who's a Celtics fan. He's like a hardcore Celtics fan, and I've known him my whole life. And he was just saying, he's like, he asked me every week. He'll ask me about Laker updates, and then he'll tease me about like the Celtics being better. And he's like, "Yo, who are they? Who are the Lakers playing the first round?" And I was like, "Fuck, man, I think we're gonna play the Kings or some shit like that." And he's like, the first thing he says is, he's like, "Hey, you think the Lakers are gonna be the betting favorites in that series?" And I was just like, probably
Oh,
because
absolutely, they will.
I mean,
Oh, no
Kings.
doubt.
That would be hilarious series. The memes would be off the charts. But to answer your question,
Yeah.
um, what's a successful? Like I think for a large part of the fan base, though like we're gaslighting and we're doing stuff on like to
Mhm.
say that we're gonna win the whole thing. Like I think a lot of us we're just happy to be here. Like we're like happy to
Yeah.
make the playoffs. We're happy to be playing competitive basketball. Like we're not going to be going, assuming knock on wood, nobody gets hurt in these next
Mhm.
4 or 5 games. Like, I'm like we get a series of them healthy. I know Braun's not fully healthy. AD might need surgery. They both might need surgery, but like we get some semblance of health kind of going into the playoffs, and so I think we're looking forward to that. And I'm like, honestly, I'm just happy to be here, man. Like I'm gonna make jokes, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna post the memes and stuff like that. But like in between the serious basketball stuff, but like we're just happy to be here because it's
Which is a
been
weird thing to say, right? As a
yeah
like a Laker fan and all those kind of
yeah
caveats. So no, yeah, you're right. Just happy to kind of be here.
yeah.
But
So it's just a matter of like it's just well, if we make it past the first round, which I think we can, I don't
mhm.
think there's any team in the West, including the Suns, that's a runaway favorite because everybody
Yeah.
has like different issues. Talent is one thing that the Suns don't have an issue with, but there are Chris Paul being up and down as a player this season. They don't have Jay Crowder, they don't have Cam Johnson, they don't have Michael Bridges. Like it's not the same team that we played a few years back. We're not the same team. We've got
Right.
a lot more shooting, half court shooting, a lot more size. So there's a little bit of a wild card when it comes to all that sort of stuff. But I don't think there's any team like that. Like I'm sure people are picking the Nuggets. Like, but even the Nuggets have their flaws, and so
You think we'd be favored against the Nuggets? I mean, it's not crazy. I'm not even. I don't
yeah,
think maybe not, but just the way I hear people talk, I mean, it's crazy. Like I hear them talk about the Nuggets, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I would kind of pick the Lakers," and I'm like, "Wow, that's a month ago. We weren't even supposed to be here," you know?
it's funny. It's the same people that were like, "Oh, the Lakers have no chance. They're just not going to come back." Blah blah. Like you said, the
Yeah,
national like Bontemps and those guys
yeah,
and
yeah.
Lowe. They're like, "Why are we even discussing the Lakers?" Like even after the trade deadline, like why are we discussing the Lakers? And it's just like, okay, like this team is. And I remember tweeting out like right after we made the trades, I said when people were trying to project our record after the trade
Hmm.
deadline, I was like, if they are the team that we think they are before the trade, and we
Hmm.
know that these pieces fill in all the gaps that we wanted post trade, they should be able to go on a run and make some noise in the playoffs. And I mean, that's more or less pretty close to what's happening. And then I mean, I think LeBron just coming back like so early, and now it's just like, all right, well, what the hell is going on here? Like, it seems like does it like, do you think that like even it's to me, it seems like LeBron coming back early, aside from giving himself more ramp up time, is
Yeah,
also like him being like, no, like we need to get ready now. Like I know that we can do it now, so I'm coming back now. My foot feels good enough to play. Let me get these reps in now so that we can hit the ground running once the playoffs start. There's no ramp up period. Like, you think that gives like a vote of confidence to the rest of the team?
oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, I think I told you I was going to the game on Sunday, and I was like, "There's no way LeBron's playing." Like, he's like questionable or whatever. He's just on the injury report, and then all of a sudden, Woj like, "LeBron's gonna try to play." I was like, "What?" Um, and I don't think anyone on the team really knew, but like, yeah, I think that's him being like, "Okay, this team's legit." They just had like a
Yeah.
huge, they had a nice road trip. They obviously lost the home game against Chicago, but and you could tell him kind of ramping himself up. No, Vinay, having like an 8 game ramp is way better, is like so massive versus a 2 game ramp, right? Like, cause
Absolutely.
imagine
Yeah.
he comes back against like Utah, second to last game of the season, and then he has to kind of ramp up to like a play-in versus he has this like 8-game ramp, which includes Houston, which is almost like a turbo, right? Like you play Houston and it ramps you up even faster. So
Yeah.
no, it's huge to kind of have him back. And yeah, I just didn't expect to have the full team healthy. Obviously, D'Lo just comes in and out for some reason whenever.
We can discuss that too.
Yeah,
After
but
this big
like,
guy, yeah.
yeah. So like, hopefully he's probable for
Yeah.
tomorrow. But yeah, it's weird having the full team. And yeah, just the last one before we move, just to again put in context how like how these windows are a lot shorter than people think. This doesn't get talked about a lot because I know I mean, they've been in the criticism a little bit more this summer, but the Clippers missed the playoff last year. Like people, like we
Hmm.
don't even like right. They were in the playing game. Paul George caught COVID right before the game, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I was at the game, and then so like they're like Paul George isn't playing, and it was like 2 hours before, and the Clippers just lost, and they were home. Like that was,
Yeah.
you know what? Like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they lost that game, and then they went to Minnesota and lost. That was a Patrick Beverly jumping on the scoreboard game. But like,
Yes.
but yeah,
Get
like
Patrick Beverly, dude.
yeah, it all comes full
Anyways,
circle.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, last thing, I have this pulled up because I think it's funny. We talked about it
Yeah.
last time. The Warriors played the Nuggets on Sunday. Okay, Vinay.
Yeah.
Jokic sat that game. Just to give you context,
He did.
Thomas Bryant was still a DMP coach's decision. That's just. But yeah. Anyway, that's
I know, but I think Lakers Twitter is very, very much beating him up for
I feel
requesting
for
the
him,
trade.
but I mean, like,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I would just say I think getting those 3 second round picks probably had more to do with moving him, considering the fact that we had Mo Bamba on the way with that Pat
hmm
trade. So I feel a little bad because, um, like it's like being characterized as, well, he was unhappy, so they traded him. Not like,
right,
oh, somebody's offering us 3 second rounders, so we're gonna trade him, but you can run this story too because that's cool, and then it
yeah,
won't make us look bad. And so, um, if he rec- so when I was thinking about that, and this is just be my one thought on Thomas Bryant because I'm probably one of the few people who have this opinion. I don't think he wanted to leave the Lakers, but I think he
sure,
recognized that there was like his minutes were not going to be there. It wasn't like I don't like Anthony Davis thing or I expect to play 20 minutes. It was more like
hmm
I'm a vet minimum guy. I'm off an ACL tear. I played 20 games straight when Anthony Davis was out and I was balling, and I can't even carve out a few minutes for like when Anthony Davis sits down. And I get that because that's kind of the business of basketball, right? And the
yeah,
other part is like, yeah, I told you this to you in the chat. I was like, the Lakers aren't bringing him back. Like he's
right,
even if he had been good defensively, they're not going to give him the taxpayer minimum, like the mid level exception or whatever it's going to be. They're going to give that money to somebody else altogether, like a wing, like Troy
mm,
Brown or something like that. So like, I just knew they weren't going to bring him back. So I just when the story came out, I was just like, this sucks because there's a little bit more to it, business
yeah,
size, about cap wise, and so it's fine. But I mean, look, he hasn't said anything bad about the Lakers to my knowledge. Like I haven't seen him say anything negative since he's been traded.
no,
Only one guy has said bad shit about the Lakers since he's got it. It's Pat. And Austin Reaves. Austin Reaves was every one of us Laker fans during that second Chicago game. Did you see? This reminds me. Did you see the? Remember I told you, like me and you both said a long time ago, like all NBA players have burners, or they read
mm,
everything on the timeline, or
hmm
they have their entourage or the goons or
right.
whatever that they have that send them the stuff. Did you hear when Braun said Austin always has my back, even though he has been a Kobe fan or something like that growing up?
Oh
And
yeah,
it was
yeah,
like,
yeah. I did
yeah.
see that.
So when I heard that, I was just like, oh, somebody's sending this to Braun. Either Braun saw it because I think his old tweet got retweeted, Austin's old tweet or
Yeah, they
something,
put it
or
up on like
Instagram.
ESPN or something when he got drafted. I think they
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
went back and found it.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
so I thought that was really funny. That I was just like, oh, Braun reads this stuff. I was like, he probably doesn't think anything of it, but it cracks me up that he like mentioned it in a post game. But to transition, D'Lo has been a very central subject of some of our conversations because when he plays, he's good for the most part. Um, Great passer. Lakers have cut down on some of the Dennis Schroeder running the offense stuff, and they've put D'Lo and Austin and LeBron in, and he's been pretty fantastic facilitating, even if he's not like
yeah,
running the offense completely. D'Lo, you posted a video of D'Lo finding Beasley
Beasley.
and it's not even a design play or a design cut. It's just an organic play that happens. And they have a synergy there too. D'Lo's made those plays with Vando and Rui and stuff like that too as well. It's very LeBron like the way he finds guys and throws them open. But he can't seem to stay healthy for some reason. He didn't play the second half of the Houston game. We didn't need him to, but like he's missed what 5-6 games since we've traded for him. I want to
Yeah.
say. Um, do you want me to say my thoughts first, or and put the wall up,
Yeah,
or do you? Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Throw
So
it up in the air, and I'll
yeah.
catch what
So
I want to catch.
uh, um, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not. I'm not. I have half of my foot in D'Lo's boat. Uh, if that metaphor makes sense. Like
Sure.
my concern about him is not basketball related. It's health related. And one
Hmm.
of my largest concerns, biggest concerns, which we could probably say for like an off-season conversation once the season's over,
Yeah.
is we already have trouble load managing one player. And then we have a second 1B guy in Anthony Davis that we also have issues load managing because he can get injured at any point, like he did almost in the Minnesota game. The Lakers really, really can't afford to load manage a third guy. And
Hmm.
I honestly think it's impossible to do it for two players. And the Clippers have done it like almost as perfectly as you can, and they still can't, you know what I mean? Like they still can't find any continuity with it. And to add a third guy, I'm not saying that it's going to be a thing, but if I'm going into extension conversations with D'Lo and D'Lo saying, "Well, yeah, look at the fans love me." D'Lo knows exactly how to get in front of a mic every post game. Like he goes up to Mike Trudell and he says, "What about your time in Minnesota? Do you have any?" He says, "I'm a
Ignored
Laker
all of
fan."
it.
He
Ignored all
ignored
that
all of it,
Minnesota
right?
stuff.
Yes. So like it's I love the personality. I love that I love the leadership. I think the stuff about his maturity and stuff like that is it's like very fair. He has grown. You
Yeah.
know, me and you both said like he's been traded 4 times. Like he has to grow up. He doesn't have any choice now, like to like be the D'Lo that he was his rookie season, and no player ever is. But I don't
Right.
know if I can do the injury thing, man. Like I'm not saying we should not resign him. I'm just saying like when we have the conversation with him, like that's the one thing that's in the back of my mind. Like, am I going to get 65 games out of D'Lo next season? Like that's my concern. What do you think about that concern?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, some players are like this, and I think I've heard like this is contractual as well, right? This is kind of protecting himself, which I mean, there's a lot of Lakers on, this team that also are in contract situation. It's not
Mhm.
just him. So I don't know. It's just like to me when I in the locker room, like second half, that was strange. I usually don't see that, especially when it wasn't in live ball situation. Like a lot of it. I think his last two injuries were like not during live ball at all. They were
Right.
just one was after the game, after one of the games, and then obviously last night was when he went to the locker room. So yeah, I don't know. It's strange, but the Lakers kind of in a peculiar spot. I mean, like more about the like cap stuff, but like you can't just let D'Lo
Right.
go, right? Like it would be it'd be really terrible asset management to if you want to call it that. So I think they're in a position where like you have to kind of resign him. I don't know what his number is, but you're right though. Like the on court stuff though is like it's magical when he plays with
Right.
like the big three. With him, LeBron and AD are like as good a fit as you could ask for. He's eccentric on the court. You could tell
Mhm.
like he really thrives in those kind of moments. There's a few games here and there where you'll see him be a little bit passive, but think that works next to another guard like Austin Reaves, where he's a
Right.
little bit more of a free throw kind of guy, get to the basket. And I think they have a nice yin and yang relationship. It's not just about like him. I think he's a really good fit. So, but yeah, the injury stuff is just I would just characterize it Vinay as weird. I don't like that's the
Right.
only way I could put it. I don't have any answer for it. It's just like it's strange. I remember on Sunday when I went to the game, like he was warming up and they were like, yeah, we're gonna see how he feels. Again, I'm no medical person. I'm like, oh, like
Right.
seems like he's shooting pretty well. I'm excited to watch D'Angelo Russell tonight. And then
Which
like
is not playing. Yeah.
30 minutes before the game, he actually like left the crowd. And he was like, like putting his hands up after he left his shoot around. Like, yeah, like getting the crowd to cheer. And 30 minutes later, it's like, yeah, D'Lo's not feeling it. Not gonna suit up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know if this is a like contract year type of thing that players do. Maybe he's like, let me just get healthy to get to the playoffs. Kind of load managing. I think it is a little strange that like the game LeBron came back, D'Lo went out. Like,
Yeah.
is that like a coincidental thing? I'm not sure. So,
What do you think? So I have a theory. It's
Okay.
conspiracy, obviously. That like people usually tell you and I that like there's medical checks. The medical experts on the timeline will be like, well, he's got to pass medical checks, and if he passes his medical checks, then the Lakers will allow him to play. I have like this suspicion that these guys are passing their medical checks, but the final say as to whether they want to play or not is up to them. And so the reason
Hmm.
I'm saying that is because, like, first and foremost, Braun's timeline thing, like that, he blasted that timeline to hell, right? Like he did. They were supposed to do an evaluation, and McMenamin reports, like everybody was reporting somebody. So that came from somewhere. That wasn't
Yeah.
like, and it wasn't. I don't think Woj or McMenamin or anybody said it was a team source that said that. They said league sources are saying that. So for me, like knowing the folks that I talk to in the media and stuff like that, that work the beat or whatever, like whenever it's league sources, that could be literally anybody. That could be like
Right.
LeBron. That could be Damon Jones that walks in with LeBron every single. You know what I mean? Like it could be anybody. So I
Right.
figured that was somebody from LeBron's camp that maybe mentioned that to one of the writers. And then LeBron comes out and says, "Well, there was no evaluation, no timetable given. I'll come back when I'm working on my way to come back." Then he comes back the very next game. So it's like, I don't think everybody's happy he came back, but I think everybody thought of it like, "Oh, he's letting people know I'm not rushing back." And then it was the exact opposite that happened. He came back the very next game. So it's like, I get like the controlling the narrative part and stuff like that. That's probably what it was. But like, then we go forward, the second Chicago game, both LeBron and D'Lo are game time decisions, and one
Yeah.
plays and one doesn't. And so like that was the part that, or I think, yeah, they were game time. He was a game time decision for the first Chicago game, and so is D'Lo. And D'Lo doesn't play, and LeBron plays. We end up losing the game. Whatever, that's fine. But like, it seems to me like as long as they pass their medical checks, nobody's going to say anything to them. But ultimately, the Lakers are always going to say, "Well, it's up to you if you want to play. Like, we're not going
Yeah.
to force you because of your pain tolerance and stuff like that." But at the same time, then it's like if that theory is accurate to any degree, then that would technically mean that D'Lo is choosing not to play the second half for whatever reason. I'm not saying he can't, but I'm just saying like, like in the back of my mind, it's like, all right, dude, like Anthony Davis playing through bone spurs, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't play through like a mild ankle. Like now I'm thinking about like Mo Bamba. I'm like, is your ankle sprain really that bad? Like, I hope it is,
Man.
because it didn't look bad. You know what I mean? And we watch other people sprain ankles and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
like
it's weird. Bamba came and like bam, 4 weeks. I'm like, man, that is crazy. And like
super
the image
conservative.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they mostly are, and maybe it's the league we're in as well, right? I mean, the Kawhi just sat out a second half.
That was nuts, man.
Ty
I
Lue
feel
was
bad.
like, Ty's like, well, I didn't know, so like, what am I gonna answer here? And then obviously Russ and I think Norman Powell were asked about it as well. We're like, oh yeah, we didn't know. Like we found out when you guys found out, which is crazy. Two guys in
Yeah.
the same locker room. So maybe that's just kind of where we're at. They might just be conservative. AD had the same thing, right? Renee, I think like he comes back earlier than usual, like and then
Yeah.
the timetable really says. LeBron didn't really have a timetable. They were just like, we're gonna look at him in a few weeks. We're gonna look at
Yeah.
him in a few weeks, and then he's playing. It's like, oh, all right, great, So yeah, but I'm not mad. I'm not complaining. I mean, we have the full team. D'Lo's probable again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I hope this is like a regular season thing. I, these games to me matter every single game, but I don't know. Maybe the team feels like they're in a little bit more of an advantageous situation where they can kind of
Yeah.
rest players. But this back to back to me, Vinay will tell us a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all set to play tomorrow. I don't think they're gonna punt the Clipper game. I don't. That doesn't feel
You
like what's
can't.
about to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't feel like what's about to happen. So, and then also, yeah, the back to back stuff is weird, right? We get like 3 weeks later that AD gets to choose which back to
Yeah.
back he
That was
plays
funny.
in, which felt like damage control a little bit. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I think that's where we're at. I don't know. The D'Lo stuff is just weird to me. I'm hoping that he's fine to play now, but you never know. Just gotta hope that he's healthy when we go to the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah. What do you think about the Austin Reaves experience? That, I mean, that was really the most of the stuff. Like, we know D'Lo's a good player and stuff like that. It's just the injury stuff has been an issue. The big thing that's changed is, since Braun and D'Lo have been back, is, Beasley got moved out of the starting lineup.
Right.
We had dialogue about that, and then Reaves is in the starting lineup now. And I think you described it, what, like the yin yang between him and D'Lo, like the way Austin likes to play and likes to
Yeah.
do stuff with the ball compared to the way D'Lo likes to do stuff with the ball, and sort of like it sounds like I'm saying a bad thing, but like settle for the jump shot versus attack the mid area. Like D'Lo prefers sometimes to settle for jump shots unless he has to
Hmm.
go to the rim, whereas Austin likes to go and draw contact because he can get to the line and stuff like that. Um, it's a nice balance between the two. Whereas Beasley kind of
Yeah.
shoots more, like he just kind of lets it fly as soon as he catches it. What do you think about that? Do you think even beyond this season, like if everybody comes back next season, should Austin Reaves be our starting two next season?
I mean, with the contract he's about to get, I think like he probably should be, right?
Mhm.
I don't know, but like I watch him now and I'm like, man, it's crazy that like last year this dude was like thrown in first few games,
Yeah.
no one knew who he was. And now like I watch him against Houston. He's in his second year too, right? Against Houston dudes who are in the second year, but he looks like the
Yeah.
vet. Like he's like drawing fouls on dudes, like they're all out of position. I like the D'Lo Austin fit. I'm curious if that's a good defensive backcourt, enough of a defensive backcourt, but I think Vando, LeBron, and AD kind of gives you a versatility that like your backcourt doesn't have to be two lockdown guards.
Sure.
And then we have Dennis kind of in that role, right? He can kind of step in for D'Lo, or they can even go small where he's like the point of attack guard. But no, I like the fit, and I think Austin just even another NBA summer of getting. Usually, guys take like the third year leap, right? That's kind of where you see those players take a real jump. I think Austin's already ahead of schedule. Well, he's also older, but I think he's ahead of schedule in terms of like undrafted guard kind of thing. And the Lakers, obviously, with their contract situation, gave him a 2 year, the 2 year deal. You have to
Yeah.
pay him now, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm wondering like what another NBA summer of strength does for him. But like like it's when you watch a lot of players and like there's some players where you're like, okay, I'm not sure if he'd come through in like a playoff game.
Sure.
There's still some players like that that have come through our door. I don't have any worries about that with
Not at
Austin. Like, I
all.
have zero worries like in a playoff game he's gonna be scared to shoot an open three. Like
Yeah,
I
for
have
sure.
zero or like scared to like draw contact or stuff like that and get to the
Yeah.
line or be passive. So like I have concerns with that. Some of our other players on this team, I have some concerns with that going into the playoffs. But Austin's not one that I worry about. And I think we were talking about this. There's been people who've been clamoring for Beasley not to play. Like,
Yeah.
man, there's just there's
Yeah, I mean,
there's no
I wrote about it, like, or I
yeah,
tweeted about it. I was just like, he's, like it's again, we say this all the time. Like basketball is a rhythm sport, and some
yeah,
guys require more rhythm than other guys do. And Beasley, like, ever since I think D'Lo went down, his shot volume went from like he had like 14 threes he took in that New Orleans game, and then like
yeah,
after that it was like 12, 6, 5, 4, 3, 3, 4, and then he had another double digit one. I think it's like the Houston game that we lost, or I forgot what it was, like some game that we lost. And when that happened, I was like people are like, oh well, he's been in a slump and stuff like that. It's like you have to remember this is a guy that was attempting at least 10 shots a game, and he was a consistent, like he was like a mainstay even with Utah. Like he was a mainstay in the, he knew how many minutes he was getting, he knew
yeah,
what lineups he was going to play in, he knew how many shots he was going to get, he knew what his role was going to be. And again, it's not to say that it's Braun or D'Lo's fault, because you get injured, that just happens. But it's like neither me nor you are ever going to tell Laker fans like how you should feel about a player. You can feel how you want to
yeah,
feel. We'll just offer our context. Like for me, it's just like you have to understand that he's a role player, and when you start asking him to do stuff beyond his role, and most people are like, "Well, we're just asking him to shoot threes." He's like, "Well, he's not just doing that. Like he is now the best shooting threat on the floor. Like if it's not Austin, like we were running a lineup of Dennis, Beasley, Troy,
Troy,
Vando, and
yeah,
AD. That's three non-shooters, and he's the lone relocation shooter for that entire lineup. Like teams are like, oh, we know where this ball is going if it's going to be a three ball. It's not going to Troy Brown because he's going to be standing in like the corner or something like that.
yeah,
Like, and so obviously we want him to shoot better and stuff again, have better shot selection or whatever. But it's just like sometimes we have to give our role players a little, like I'm hard on Dennis all the time. But
yeah,
like I've told you, I was like, Dennis can play like ass for 3 quarters, and he'll always get his minutes in the fourth. And more often than not this season, he's come through for us, drawing fouls and doing
yeah,
all this sort of stuff. So it's like I give him that grace. but I'd still like him to be better for the first 3 quarters that he plays or whatever. So it's just like I think we just have to try and offer a little bit of grace to some of these guys because I get the expectations and we are Laker fans and stuff like that, so we expect like excellence. But these are guys that are literally figuring out how to play with each other with probably no practice at all. You know what I mean? Like as the
Oh,
season goes on. So
100%. Well, let me ask you this about Beasley because I think this is like my only complaint with him because he's obviously a volume 3-point shooter, but I think he's kind of because I watch when you watch his tape in Utah, like obviously the threes stand out, but he has some ball handling. Like you'll see
mhm,
him shot fake and drive and like hit little difficult layups, but I think like he's been told like so much like you're our shooter. That's kind
mhm,
of been ingrained to now where like he's in zero rhythm. So now he's even coming off the bench. So it's even
right.
less rhythm, right? So now you're coming off the bench cold and now you're like, okay, and he's catching and taking like really tough threes. And people are like, why is he shooting 25%? I'm like, those are tough contested threes. Like
Yeah.
25% is really good for like that type of shot quality. I just
Yeah.
wish like he let his success be his guide a little bit on those,
Sure.
and then also like I think like I would wish him to like for the first few shots let those be higher shot quality, and that's why like I
Yeah.
think to your point, like if you remember this, Vinay, we did this twice too in the same game. We played Chicago on the road. We went up by 17 really quick, and then we played this
Mhm,
lineup. You alluded to it just now, but it wasn't AD, it was Wenyan. So we
yeah.
had a five man bench lineup. We did this twice, same
Yeah.
game, same mistake. But anyway, it was Dennis, Beasley,
Be
Troy,
Troy.
Vando, and Wenyan. I think.
Yeah.
I forgot who the other forward was, but it was some non-shooting threat. But yeah, and then it's like you all the ball handling duties on Dennis Schroeder, who again I think he's came through, but you have him as the only guy, as the only shot creator. It's not really his role. It's not really his role to like hit a guy coming off a flare into his shooting pocket and
Right.
then
The highlight that you showed from the Houston game, that play, Dennis is not making that play. Like that's not in his
oh
bag. He's not making a pass like that. He's not leading players. He can throw the lob when it's there off of the pick and roll action. He can do the little slip pass through
yeah.
through traffic and stuff like that. But he's not creating looks for his teammates the same way D'Lo would or Austin would. But go ahead.
Right, right. And then so in the Houston game, like the first few threes that like Beasley got, they were high quality. He's playing with D'Lo and LeBron.
Yeah.
Two of our better passers on the team, and I think that's a nice adjustment that Ham has done. He started to put two of the three of Austin, D'Lo, and LeBron on the floor at
Yeah.
all times, and I think that's really helped. It's even allowed Dennis to kind of be a little bit more of just like, okay, I'm just gonna go grift for a little bit on the side over here,
Right.
and like it doesn't really impact our offensive flow. And so, like, yeah, I think Beasley, if you can get some of those looks, like, I think I'd like to play him a little bit more with our better players. Like Troy gets these open looks. I'm like, man, I would like Beasley. I believe that Beasley gets wide open threes, he's gonna hit them. Like I believe
Right.
that. But I think it's been ingrained in him to be like, oh, you see a little inch of daylight fire. I'm like, let's see a
Right.
little bit
Right.
more
Right.
daylight. Let's have the sun come out a little bit and then
Right.
shoot in the dark. You know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
that's where I think he can get better at. But no, like you're right. This is a role player. He's not gonna shoot 45% from three every night. Like he wouldn't be on your team. Like you know what I mean? Like that you wouldn't get Malik Beasley. So
Yeah.
but
And you
yeah,
have you have to let them miss it. Like we get I think we get too tense. Like Laker fans get a little too tense. It's like you know what? It's not even a Laker fans thing. It is the new generation of NBA. And I'm saying this because I'm an old guy compared to you. Like the new generation of NBA audience where it's just like people panic like crazy when a 10-point lead goes down to like a 5-point lead. Like people start panicking like crazy and I'll be like, this is very normal. Like a team going on a 5-0 run or a 7-0 run is very, very normal in any era of NBA basketball. And we are in an era of NBA basketball where 20-point leads are getting erased in like 4 minutes. So it's just
yeah.
like panicking over small stuff like that. It's not that small, but like panicking over small runs like that is unreasonable. And I think I don't know if you see it, but Jelani mentioned it like in the chat. Like Laker fans think that they should blow out every team. I mean, I don't even think it's just Laker fans. I think that stretch of basketball where it was just the Cavs versus the Warriors every single year, like those playoffs were just each team blowing each other out 30 points, like the
Yeah.
Cavs all the way up to the finals, the Warriors all the way up to the finals. Like there's just teams getting blown out, and then teams would just pack it away. Like once you go down 20, you're like, whatever, I'm not going to play my guys anymore. And I think that the NBA is starting to go back to what is normal, which is Lakers go up 10 against Minnesota. Minnesota goes on a 15-0 run or like a 15-2 run to take the lead back, and then the Lakers go on a run and stuff like that. So it's when you have guys like Beasley, like those swings can happen both ways, you know.
For sure. It's just he can't be like he can't be Steph like
Yeah, for
2
sure.
games out of 10 and then be, whatever the worst shooter is in the league in between, right? I think a floor needs to be a little bit higher.
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree with
I
you.
agree.
I think, he's got I think he's gonna be fine. He was obviously in his head in the I think one of the games he was really in his head. I forgot what game it was. I think it was a Houston game or something. But yeah, like I think he's fine. Really quick, you still watch the games on mute, right? I'm guessing with like the music.
Absolutely. I refuse to
Okay.
watch anything with Polly Mike. Go. Did I miss something? Go ahead.
Oh no. So like BDA Pink, I was actually gonna make this point, and then he commented anyway. So Stu Lance is like the king of this. So Lakers will be up 17.
Yeah.
And then like the other team will go on a 5-0 run. All right. 5-0 run. Cut it to 12. Stu Lance like they got it back to 12. Lakers call timeout. They need to, and he goes on this charade of like they need to be careful. That like it was a 5-0 run, and I think it perpetuates to the fans as well because you hear Stu
Right.
Lance and then like it also even myself even knowing I still be like, oh man, they cut it to 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny how that works. But no, you're right. Leads evaporate, and I think the league is just so talented now, and we have a Kyrie and Luka backcourt that can't who's lost 6 in a row or something like that. Like it's the league is just in an insane place where the talent is just crazy. So but yeah,
That team stinks right now. Like that team is like there's no nice way to talk about what's going on with that team. They really stink bad.
they would
Um
be on a 7-game losing streak, except Maxi Kleber hit the most
oh my god, yeah, I
ridiculous
totally
shot.
forgot. Yeah.
But if he hadn't hit that, they'd be on a 7-game losing streak. And I think they have the
Yeah.
worst defense in the league. It's not even close.
Yeah.
That defense is. I think we could score 50, like if it was us two and some guys from your pickup runs. I feel like we
But
can score some baskets on
and
the
he
on
leave me
the.
open like that 10 times, I probably make like 3 or 4 of them. I won't lie, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's that team stinks really, really bad. And I don't even know, like, I guess the writing was a little bit on the wall. I mean, I don't watch their games very closely, but like when Kidd came out and basically said, like, we're not playing defense, we're just gonna try and outscore the other team. I was just like, that's not I've never heard a coach just say that and be like, okay, and and be serious about it. So I was just
Yeah,
like, I think he kind of that might be like one of those things like sort of like the like how the Clippers are working with Kawhi's medical schedule when he plays, when he doesn't play. Like the front office must have made a decision and just told the coach, deal with it, and we're going to figure this out in the offseason or something like that. And like it can have a toll on your basketball games and the chemistry or the morale or whatever of the team and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going to happen with that team, but if Kyrie's not staying in Dallas, don't put it. Don't Laker fans shouldn't think that the Lakers won't kick, especially with the new CBA stuff that's come out. Like Kyrie's options of like where he wants to go, like they're not. It's not going to be like aside from teams that just don't have cap space. Like some of that stuff is going to change. Like where he thinks he can go, where he can make certain money and stuff like that. So
but does he not have Dallas over a barrel though? I mean, like
I don't
so
know.
just
See,
just
the
just
Dallas
putting just
writers are
putting
telling me that they're just happy to get out of Dinwiddie's contract too. So like it may have been like a money move. I don't know.
but that costs you Dorian Finney-Smith and then also a future first round pick.
I
And then
don't know,
I
man.
saw a tweet the other day. Dallas the the like the scenario where everything goes right is really just them keeping a top 10 pick. Like that's
Right.
the
Yeah.
scenario thing. If they don't keep that, it's doomsday. But I mean, like let's say they keep that, their only tradable asset, Vinay, is the first round pick this year that they
Yeah.
keep if it's top 10, right? If it's 11 or lower, it goes to New York. So they keep that top 10. They have one more first to trade. That's it.
That's it.
Where's
Yeah.
the improvement coming from? Christian Wood is a free agent. I think they want him out of that business. I don't think
Yeah.
they want in the Christian Wood
Which is
business.
crazy. Which is crazy too, because that was supposed to be a guy like like people were going after and they really want to get him, and he was supposed to help them unlock like some level of
Yeah.
It's tough for them. So it's just
when a team like Houston just is like, no, we're good. I kind of put some flags up there, just a couple flags get raised. But no, like it's interesting. I think they lost Jalen Brunson. I mean, obviously Kyrie's better than Jalen Brunson in like a skill matchup,
for sure.
but like if you put in availability, you put in like just ruggedness, who's gonna play every night, who's defending,
I mean, even predictability. Like Jalen's going to miss games because
yeah,
he gets hurt. He's not going to miss games because I'm not saying that
whatever,
you
yeah,
can't miss games because of it, but
right.
it's just there's a threshold to those sort of things. Like Andrew
I mean,
Wiggins,
let's put it this way: if Dallas calls the Knicks and he's like, "We'll give you Kyrie Irving, give us Jalen Brunson back,"
I don't think
I
the
don't think
Knicks
the
will do
Knicks,
it.
yeah, I don't think the Knicks are be like, "Here's Jalen Brunson." I don't think that's happening.
Yeah,
So which is a freaking crazy thing to think about.
yeah,
And then like Vinay, the NBA season is so long. The Nets were the one seed at one point this year. This year,
yeah,
with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving balling, and people
yeah,
are like, they're my favorite. They can beat Boston. KD gets hurt for 2 weeks and their season ends. Like the NBA is
yeah,
that's why I like again just putting this full circle. Like I'm in just like a it's cool to be in this spot where we're like
yeah,
every game matters. And then the pressure I think is mounting as well. Vinay, you watch a team like Minnesota just lose to a Portland team that's
yeah.
playing
That was
guys
nuts.
I haven't heard of. So
Yeah, and
it's
then I
a
mean, you
we're
mentioned earlier the Warriors team losing to, like
Denver,
Jokic
yeah.
list Denver. Now the Clippers, they'll have a big, like the Wednesday game for them. Like regardless of whatever happens with the Lakers, that Clippers game is going to be huge for the Clippers. I mean, even their situation, them losing Paul George to a freak kind of knee injury, like and they look like they were starting to, after they got through like the first 5 games post Russ. Paul George misses games, Kawhi plays, and they're testing lineups or whatever it is that they're doing, and they start figuring it out and winning games. And then Paul George goes down. It's like, dude, anything can happen now at this point. And it's just like, I don't know what to expect. And I think typically, like, I'm a big believer that like regular season matters. Like, and it
Me
always
too.
has. And I don't like people saying that, NBA regular season doesn't matter. It's just, but I think that was probably true when LeBron was like with the Cavs in the East because of the makeup of the teams in the East at the time
Hmm.
and just the lack of competition. Not to say that, like he was a challenge, he certainly was, but like it was like the Cavs and maybe 2 other teams at the very most that could possibly challenge the Cavs. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Whereas like I feel like in the Western Conference this year, there's like 8 really good teams that could knock each
Right.
other out at if the ball bounces in the right direction or if a certain team gets hot. So I think it's a little bit different. So I think the regular season has mattered this year. And the fact that the Lakers took the post trade deadline part of regular season seriously um, is why we're in the position that we're in. Because I mean, Braun could very easily just fold it up and just be like, my foot. It is what it is. I'm not coming back the rest of the season. But I mean, it must mean something to him if he's trying to come back and he's trying to play and stuff like that. So,
But see the thing though, I think we did take the regular season seriously. We just
mhm.
weren't good enough
Yeah, yeah,
earlier,
fair.
right? Like
Yeah,
so we're reaping the benefits of some of that, right? Like we found that Wayne Gabriel's like a really solid big and he's playing even now. And when we're an actual team that can, do something. Troy Brown as well, I think is a find,
yeah.
right? At the minimum as well. A wing. He went from like our fifth most important player to now like eighth or ninth. Like that's like a
He's been
talent,
solid.
yeah, and that's like a talent gap, that's really important.
Mhm.
Dennis as well. We have our gripes, but I mean, he's been a part of why we're here.
He's
We
won
start,
us games, so I can't.
yeah,
Kings,
yeah, yeah.
Kings. If you end up watching this later, like this is not my anti Dennis. I tell Kings all the time because he's always promoting Dennis, and I'm like, it's not that I don't like him. It's just he does stuff and he like holds the ball too long, and I'm like, dude, move the ball. And but he has legitimately won us some games, like, and so I can't be
Even
mad.
even the Minnesota game on the road, Mike Conley
Yeah,
was cooking D'Lo. I believe D'Lo played that game, right? Did he play in
yeah, he did.
Minnesota? I believe so. Yeah, yes, yeah. Mike Conley was just cooking us.
Yeah.
And then we threw Dennis Schroeder on him, and he's just like able to ball pressure and do stuff like that. And yeah, like I think we're reaping some of the benefits of that. Benefits of that. We stayed afloat while AD went down. LeBron just turned it up, averaged 30 a game.
Yeah.
LeBron went down, AD turned up, averaged like 32 a game. Like now we're reaping some of the benefits that I think Some of the teams, like again, I think the Clippers are the most interesting, fascinating team to me because they're just like, yeah, we don't care at all about the regular season. We're gonna disrespect it all
Right.
year,
Yeah.
and we're just gonna walk into the playoffs. And I think you're seeing some of the frustration of that. You're seeing Ty Lue really annoyed that Marcus Morris has been banished to wherever they sent
Yeah.
him. I don't know what happened to him.
I wonder if because I know like the Clipper, like me and you have some Clipper mutuals, like they've
Yeah,
like Clipper fans have been. And that,
in
you know,
hell.
the funny part is that like because I have like three Clipper fans that I follow. And obviously, most of my stream is like, or most of my timeline is Laker fans. So like
Right,
whenever
right.
there's like something bad about Ty Lue that comes up, and something bad about like Marcus Morris that comes up, like the Laker fans are always just like, yeah, this team sucks. Look at them, haha, you guys are blah blah. But then if you read what the Clipper fans are quote tweeting, they're like, thank God somebody finally said this about Ty Lue.
Yeah.
Or thank God. So I was just like, I don't think you guys realize they're not happy with Ty Lue and Marcus Morris either. So we're not really, like we're not really helping, but they've had issues with them from what I've heard. And I
Yeah.
think the Kawhi thing is taking a toll on that whole team, man. It's hard to load manage an entire team based on whether one guy is going to play or not. But that decision isn't told in advance. It's just done on the fly. And that is very, very difficult to do. And like, I mean, like, we don't have to touch on Russ, but like when Russ was going to post game and saying, look, man, I'm playing basketball. I'm just trying to do the best that I can. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not saying you should have, he's getting paid. He should be a professional, all that sort of stuff. So I understand. But it's just like, that was literally what it was. Like all these guys, Pat, like
Yeah.
me and you, we would jump on them and stuff like that and be upset with them. But it's just like, these guys knew they weren't going to be with the Lakers after the trade deadline.
Hmm.
And so they're just doing what they're doing without getting in the way as much as they can. And I think the Clippers are running into that situation too. Like maybe Marcus Morris was like, yeah, you're not going to be a starter anymore. He's like, fuck it. I'm just going to go home then. Like, I'm not going to deal with this situation like this. Like, cause he's
Yeah.
like they traded for him. Remember? Like we were in a bidding war to get Marcus Morris to LA and the Clippers
He's
got him.
also been consistent. Like while Paul George, Kawhi sit
Right.
out all these games, Marcus Morris is up there. Now he's not playing well this year. He's really
Yeah.
been vilified. Honestly, you listen to like you talked about. You listen to any Clipper fan talk. They're like, just don't play Marcus Morris, and that's our solution. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is, I mean, maybe they know more than me, but like I talk to Clipper fans like, yeah, we need a cultural reset. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not resetting anything if it's Kawhi and Paul George. Like that's your team.
That's your
That's
team.
the
Yeah.
DNA of your team is Kawhi and Paul George. You can fire Ty Lue all you want. Like like that. I mean, like so.
Right. I mean, it's the same thing as last year. Like we hired Darvin Ham, and
Yeah.
I will say this: like, I know a lot of people bash Ham about like X's and O's and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like, and I think a few folks have like applauded Ham for like being like that leader of men and stuff like that. Like, I don't think sometimes fans actually grasp how much he had to do. Like, he had to keep a locker room where 4 or 5 players pre-trade deadline knew that they were not going to be on the team and got them to
Yeah.
win games for the Lakers when they didn't have to. And these are not, I'm not just talking about Russ. I'm talking about like guys like Juan Toscano Anderson probably knew he was going to get moved. Troy probably thought he was going to get moved. I know that the Lakers tried to find a destination for Lonnie, but they couldn't find a destination for him. Like they tried to get him, like Lonnie's getting paid $8 million. If we want to play roster politics, he should probably be playing 20 minutes a game for the amount of money he's getting paid. But
Mhm.
he's not even coming off the bench, Raj. He's like
He's out of the
15.
rotation.
He's out of the rotation, and I'm not saying like he. I think Lonnie's doing a big part of it, where he's like being a team player and stuff like that. But it's like you have to manage that both outside of off the court, and then also whatever happens on the court too as well. And I don't agree with some of the lineup combinations and the minute allocations that he does. Like we've discussed that a lot, but like that's not easy to do. Like he was dealt, like honestly, by our front office, I would say he was dealt like pretty shitty hand to start
Yeah.
this season. And I think the fact that we're at this point where we can say that by by the end of next week or whenever it is, by mid-April, we could potentially be like in the thick of the playoffs and possibly have like a Western Conference Finals or better run. That's pretty crazy. That's a lot to happen in a single season. So I have to give him credit for that. Like, because I can't imagine. Like, I don't know if Vogel would have been able to do that or some other coach would have been able to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think done a pretty fine job. First year, head coach. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff with that. Managing a LeBron James locker room, plus,
Brutal. Yeah.
I mean, we could, sugarcoat it, but I think he was brought in to handle the Russell Westbrook situation. I mean, that
Yeah,
was
for sure.
they've even said, that was part of the interview process was like, how would you, guard Russell Westbrook? And most people are like, wait, Russ isn't even gonna be on the team, right? Like
Yeah.
when the season starts. But yeah, like I think he's done a fine job. I think like they go into his X's and O's. I think our offense is better than it was last year. I also think he has better options to go to.
Mhm.
He's gonna make
Spacing
mistakes,
principles
but
are
I think
definitely better.
spacing prints are better, and he's cut down to an 8-man rotation. I mean, Troy and like I think Wenyan or Beasley, one of those guys, are kind of our 9-10 guys. But I mean,
Yeah.
like against I think on the road he's played like Rui, Dennis, and Wenyan was like our bench rotation. He's really cut that down. So I'm interested how he does in the playoffs, but I think
He
he's
got
been fine.
he convinced Anthony Davis to play the 5 the entire season.
Oh man, yeah, that too. Yeah, AD has just played center all year.
Yeah.
Part of that, I think, also our centers were just really bad. I mean, Damian
Yeah.
Jones was an awful,
It's a
uh,
big whiff for
I
all of
mean,
us. Yeah.
yeah, I hope the best for him, but obviously he wasn't good. Thomas Bryant, obviously we talked about, just can't guard at all, can't play the center position defensively. And then we brought in Mo Bamba just out right away. I think part
Right.
of the plan was to play Bamba and AD a little bit together.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
gone. We're seeing a little bit of Wenyan AD, but other than that, you're right. He's played center.
What do you what do you think about the rise of Rui? The even though
Man,
like his journey with the Lakers so far has been like a very strange roller coaster, because when we got him, I was just like, I remember me and you did a space. I was like, this guy is like a net should be the direct sub for LeBron. Like when LeBron goes out, his sub should be Rui, because Rui can just go out there and score, and he can just be a big body the way LeBron is. Um, but the Lakers have been weird with his minutes and stuff like that. And, I understand like the one off logic of, Lonnie had sort of a heroic game for us against OKC. And so he got awarded minutes.
rewarded,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, in that next game. But like, what do you think about like, I mean, we don't have to discuss why Rui didn't get minutes. I think that makes sense for that first Chicago game. But what do you think about like this falling in love with Rui thing that's happening? Because like now, like people are like, oh my god, Rui's like this amazing player, and the LeBron came out and he's just like, we know who he is, like we know we can give it to him, we know that he's built like a certain way to be able to score. So it's just like, for me, I'm like, are you guys communicating this to the coach, like in the film room, like, hey, play Rui? I mean, they're not going to tell the coach, but like, are you,
Yeah.
like LeBron's got the cachet to be like, hey, play Rui, like it'll make it easier for me to set him up, like maybe instead of playing the smaller guard. But yeah.
Yeah, he had 20 and 12 right against Houston. And I think numbers against Houston should always be kind of, put in
Yeah,
a
for sure.
look through
Grain
a
of salt.
look through a
Yeah.
lens, but that's not even my favorite part. Like to me, I don't know, I wasn't watching many Washington games, so but I believe like it would be hard to be a defensive guy on that team, right? I'm sure the culture isn't really cultivated to where
Yeah.
like you have to care defensively. Which is perfect for Kuzma to just average 25 and just
Right.
get paid, I guess. Big three of Kuzma, Porzingis, and Beal, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So like, I think his defense has been just surprising to me. He changed that Minnesota game. Honestly, he threw him on Karl Anthony Towns, and
Yeah.
he
On
just
Cat. Yeah.
yeah on Cat. Yeah, and Towns couldn't be physical with him because he's 250. There's a play I didn't post it, but there's a play in the Houston game. LeBron gets a rebound and is dribbling up, and Rui is running full speed. I'm
Mhm.
like, this dude is 250 and just sprinting up the court like a
Yeah.
big wing, and catching and finishing. I'm like, man, that's like, it's not a lot of those guys in the league. There's not like 250 wings running around who have a Kawhi mid-range jumper in
Right.
them. Like that's just a weird player, Like usually those guys make $30 million. Like
Yeah.
if you're a go-to scorer and you're
Mhm.
250 sized wing, like usually get paid. So I'm really interested like what he is. But what do you think about like the defensive side? Because I think Ham has kind of decided him and Vanderbilt are kind of like unplayable together. So like
Yeah.
in Houston, Rui had like 20 some what did he play? 25 minutes. I think Vandal played like 19 or something. So they kind of play their minutes off of each other, which I think is a mistake. I think they can play it, but I think the defense has been interesting. You see him box out, you see him go for rebounds. He's protecting the rim. He had like 4 blocks against Houston as well.
Yeah.
He's blocking shots. I think that's obviously a coaching thing, but yeah, what are you seeing from that end? Because I think that's my favorite part about him. I don't think he's gonna average 20 in any playoff series for us. I
Yeah.
don't think that's happening. But he's a go-to bucket. Like you're like, okay, ball swings around, we have nothing. Rui Hachimura, 2 dribble, pull up,
Yeah.
swish. I'm like, man, it's nice to have that. But yeah, what do you think about him?
Yeah, it on the defense. I think him and Vando. You bring up a nice point. Like there was a point when we got both of the players where I thought that
Mm,
that there should have been a lineup of like like if LeBron missed games, like hypothetically, it would be like D'Lo, Beasley, Rui, Vando, and like AD. Like that would be like we'd have like no drop off almost like if
right.
LeBron missed games because just Rui can knock down shots, especially middies and do the ISO stuff that LeBron likes to do. So I am actually surprised that he split them up. That he doesn't try to overlap Rui and Vando very much.
Yeah.
I hope that if we do, if we bring Rui back and stuff like that they figure that out and find a way to make them both work. But I think Rui is built to deal with certain types of players that Vando
Hmm.
isn't, and Vando is built to play, defensive. So it's like even if they're like the same height, Vando can like get skinny. His mobility is way higher. His instincts on like which cutting
Yeah.
off your angles is different. Whereas Rui is like more of a plotter, and I think we covered like his physical ability. Like so he's better for guys who aren't going to beat you with like dribble and footwork and stuff, like very crafty players. So like Carl Anthony Towns is a skilled player, but he's still sort of a lumbering big man, like to some
Yeah.
degree. And he's not a traditional post up. He's not Embiid when he posts people up. So it's like putting Rui on him for spot minutes that then turn into an extended run because Cat doesn't know how to counter it. That worked out great for us. So it's like if we put Rui on another guy that's like that, let's say it's like a guy like Giannis, if we ever had to play him in the finals, like I could see Rui getting the Giannis matchup more than Vando
Mm,
would because Vando's he's a little more slight, right? He's like built more like
right.
Wenyan, a little more skinny, so he may not be able to absorb all the collisions, and he doesn't have the weight to do that. But you put Vando on a guy like Middleton, and it's a way better than putting Rui on a guy like Middleton because Middleton can do stuff with the ball and he's got good footwork and stuff like that, 3 level scores, that sort of thing. So it's like I get why they do that, but I would hope they can figure that out. I don't know if they'll do that just now,
Yeah.
but I think if they get an off season where Ham can coach them up on what their roles within a certain lineup is, they can both be successful at the same time. Because it's really one of those things where defensively you have to deploy them very tactically, like very
Right.
tactically, and because of their individual defensive abilities. Uh, but offensively, there's very clear. Like Rui can do a lot of stuff on offense. Nando is very very limited on offense. He's more of a cutter. He'll hit like he's been hitting like 1-3 in the corner like every game so far for like the past couple games. So it's like
Yeah.
if if you just give me one, like that's enough. Like I'm happy with that. Like because I know he's going to get stuff off of rebounding and stuff like that. But it's I think like after these 5 games, like it's going to be tactical. Like everything we do in the playoffs is going to have to be tactical. And I like the guys that we have. So if we have to play the Suns, this is one of the reasons why I want to play the Suns is because if our starting backcourt is going to be D'Lo and Austin Reaves, I don't want D'Lo and Austin Reaves to have to go up against De'Aaron Fox or John Morant
Mm,
or Jamal Murray. I'm not as worried about, but like I don't want them to go up against speedsters because those guys can draw fouls. They can get us in foul trouble. They can get into the heart of the defense, and that could cause problems in the half court offense. But the Suns have an old fogey that's running their offense in Chris Paul. And he's always going to
yeah.
call for a screen, which means that Anthony Davis is always going to be within vicinity if he tries anything. I think we fit like the athleticism gap favors us against that lineup. Like Josh
Hmm.
Okogie's a phenomenal athlete, but they use him more as a 3-and-D guy. He's not like an on-ball guy traditionally like that. They don't have Michael Bridges anymore, so he's another guy that's gone.
Yeah.
Booker's very good, obviously, so it's very hard to deal with stuff like that. But it's just I think we match up better with that, and I think we can use guys like Wenyan or not Wenyan. We can use guys like Rui, and we can use guys like Vando in different ways to mitigate any deficiencies that we have defensively against that team.
Y- Yeah, so the thing I think with Vando and Rui, I think like Rui's more of a 4 than a 3, and Vando's more of a 3 than a 4, right? And I think that's where those two can kind of be deployed as difference makers. But Phoenix, man. I understand where you come from. I just like, man, I going against KD round one. I think Vando's like what worries me. Vinay, I'll get your opinion on this. Is the Aiton part of it, right? That's to me because I remember that first round series, and obviously we were up 2-1, yada yada. And I do think like so the conversation on the timeline was today was about depth, right? It was like depth versus like they're like, oh, stars will just play 44 minutes. That's not really what happens. Like cars don't really play 44, 45 minutes. They
Right.
do in like game sixes and game sevens, but game 1 and 2, you're not playing your superstar 45
Right.
minutes in the playoffs, especially older guys, right? Chris Paul's not playing 43 minutes in a playoff series, so they're going to be relying on Ish Wainwright, campaign, Josh Okogie, Bismack Biyombo, who might be
Yeah,
the
I'm
worst
trying to
free throw
remember the rest of
shooter.
their roster right now.
Yeah,
What
but I
they
mean,
have.
it gets dark quick, right? I mean, it like you look at their rotation because of what they had to do to get KD in
Yeah.
the middle of the season instead of at the trade instead of in the off season. So, yeah, I think the depth. I think we have better depth than them, which is crazy to say. Right now, we have like better depth than the Phoenix Suns, but they have the high level talent. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that series would be interesting. I just like to me like putting them versus like a Sacramento, I think you can slow down Sacramento in a playoff series in a
Sure.
way where like obviously they're still gonna run on you, and I'm higher on Sacramento than most. This idea that you should be, begging for Sacramento to me seems misguided. Like
Yeah.
teams are, I don't think people are watching their games in a way. Like they're a legit offensive team that kills you in many ways, and I think Darren Fox is better than people think. But I
He's
just think
hitting.
like there's no
He's making career. He has made career highs from almost every spot on the court this season. That's I think other than maybe like the above the arc three,
yeah.
he's like 80% at the rim, which is leading all guards in the league. He's like 62% on short mid range, so those floaters and stuff like that.
Mhm.
He's been unbelievable. I've never seen a guy take a jump like that this far into his career, but he's been
Yeah,
tremendous.
and he's been the most clutch player in the league this year. He gets
Mhm.
to a spot, you can't block it. He rises up and get to his mid-range jumper, and you can't help from anywhere. It's
Yeah.
40% three-point shooter, 40% three-point shooter, and it's a bonus in the paint. So they're a really tough matchup. But yeah, I think the Phoenix one is so fascinating to me because I think the Aiton part, like you talked about it, Chris Paul or Devin Booker, whoever comes and sets the screen, you have AD involved in it, and is LeBron, Vando is your back line, and to me,
Mhm.
that's where like the rotation come in. They'll probably dare Chris Paul to shoot. That's what they've been doing a lot of times now. Suns are 5-0 by the way with Kevin Durant healthy in the lineup, I believe. So
Yeah.
him and Booker look like just a hand and glove fit. They look like they have no issues. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't think though, like I think to the point that we've been talking about, there's no like giveaway matchup, right? There's no matchup you're winning 4-1 or 4-2. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing like that really happening, I think, in the West. Every team's gonna be difficult. So but yeah, I don't
And I think the games will also be close. Like, so even if you do get
yeah.
like a 4-2 series, you're gonna get like four of those six games being games that are like single digit wins. Like a single digit win
Yeah.
for wins those games. I think, and so yeah, like I mean that's really been my logic. Like like Braun hasn't gotten a very good whistle, and you and I both talked about his like athleticism kind of coming down a little bit with his
Uh-huh.
age, and obviously he has a foot injury, and you can tell noticeably he's like a little careful, like with how aggressive he is. Um, I worry. I'm not worried, but like because that makes me think that like I don't have confidence in him. But like I'm worried in the sense of like if he doesn't get calls in like a playoff series, then a team that plays really fast and likes to run off of misses, or when he doesn't get calls and he misses the shot, that'll burn us really bad. Whereas a team like the Suns, they won't push that way because the guy who's typically running their offense plays slow. Like Chris doesn't advance the ball the way like that. As if it is, it's usually to Booker, but Booker's like
More methodical.
somebody's going to be on Booker, like somebody's going to be
Mm.
on KD. They're not going to go unchecked. Whereas in Sacramento, they play like Kevin Herter, Trey Lyles, and some other 40 Malik Monk at the same time. And it's just like, holy shit,
Yeah.
where are these guys? Like they all, they can all shoot 40% from three. So um, it'll be interesting to see how that sort of goes. But I'm not afraid of it, man. Like I embrace can be the Suns, man. Like let's get them out of the way because then it theoretically should get easier. right? If the Suns are one of the
Yeah.
best teams in the West, if we get lucky or whatever you want to call it, and we knock them out in the first round, it should get easier after that. So do
Yeah.
it
You
now,
probably
do it
catch
later, whatever.
them. Probably catch them at their worst time as well,
Right?
right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. I just like to me, you can't scheme out Booker and KD, right? I
No,
think
you
they're gonna
can't. No,
do you're not gonna be able to scheme them out. They're gonna get it their 30 a night. But it is on jump shots, right? Like so a lot of their stuff is jump shots. I think they get to the line the least in the league.
Mhm.
Monty Williams went on like 3 different press conference rants to
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it didn't really help, I don't think at all, because they take their shot diet as such. But yeah, so I guess that's where you can kind of. I think the Lakers are gonna get calls in the playoffs though. I don't think like I don't think they play a style to where it's fluky. Like I don't think they're getting
Mm.
fluky calls. And by the way, we haven't even touched on this, Renee. I think this like I think it would be a disservice not to. Anthony Davis has just
Ballistic.
absolutely gone ballistic.
Yeah.
I'll ask
Maniac.
you what's the obviously we've talked about his shot selection, not selection, sorry, his shot volume has been
Yeah.
a huge kind of topic. What do you think has changed? Like, is it just him being like, I'm taking shots? Like, or what do you think is the biggest? Because again, when I was there on Sunday, he took like 8 shots. I'm like, man, that can't happen. AD had 8 shots in 3 minutes against Houston. You know what I mean? Like, there's games where he takes 8 shots for a whole game. What do you think is like the biggest thing that's causing him to kind of have these 30? I think he's averaging like 37 a game on the road trip so far. What
Yeah.
do you think is the biggest thing that's causing that?
I think some of it is teams trying to eliminate him from the offense. Like I think Chicago, that very first game, they knew like AD is like they were sending doubles and triples like very early, like
Yeah.
AD, and they were like, okay, well D'Lo's not playing, LeBron's coming off the bench. Let's see what we can do against these guys. This was like part of my gripe about like if you can't play Dennis and Bando together at the same time because unless your offense is going to be like ISO LeBron or ISO AD every
Yeah.
single possession because it doesn't work with what defenses do. But that worked to the Chicago's advantage. They won that game because of that. But then D'Lo came back the very next game, and LeBron played the very next game, so they couldn't do it anymore to AD. I think half of it is that, or 30% of it is that. But I honestly think like 70%, and I'm not. If anybody ever asked me, I'd be pretty honest. Like I think AD's motor is wildly inconsistent at times. Like I think there are some times where he really really wants to like set the tone and send a message and like be that guy, and then there's some times where he's like, no, I'm comfortable just running up and down the floor and watching my guys take shots because I know I'm going to get 25 and 10 at the end of the game. And like he's earned the equity to be able to do that sort of stuff, but it's tough to do that when you and Braun both can't do that at the same time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like that one of you guys has to do it because the rest, like again, no role player is going to be like, oh, okay, Braun and AD are taking it easy. It's Malik Beasley time. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
then and I think during this road trip, especially because he understands I think AD understands uh we have a shot to like get to the 5 seed. Like he's taking
Yeah.
it serious, and it's good to see it because this is really the time that we want it to happen.
Yeah, it's strange because, like, obviously, I mean, Gobert and Towns are like 2 big, rugged dudes. Have given him issues. Honestly, Towns has given AD kind of issues. He's a big
Before,
physical
yeah,
guy, bodies him. AD before the trip called it like a get back trip, right?
yeah,
And he's matched that. Then I'm also like, man, like we couldn't do these when we played them. I love it. I'm just, like he's like, yeah, it's a get
right.
back trip. All these teams beat us. Well, yeah, you were part of all those, man. But no, it's cool to see him like aggressive back, and he's going quick, and I think some of it AD is like, some of it is like AD's taking that mid range jumper, and I think like he
Oh yeah,
has to shoot some of those
yeah,
just to get that shot volume up. You talk about it a lot as well. Feel the basketball, like
yeah,
touch it. If all his shots were like, give me 2 in the post, and sometimes he'll even say this in post game comments, like, yeah, they doubled me. What am I supposed to do? Like,
yeah.
like, come on, man. Like, no,
Yeah. I, I I'll give him some credit. He's been getting the ball out of his hands very quickly sometimes. Like
yeah,
and he's been making that skip pass across to the corner. Like he's been doing some of the stuff that we've been wanting him to do. Again, I don't know what clicked with him. Like because this was like he wasn't even doing it after post trade deadline. Like he's just
right.
started doing it now. And I'm like,
Mhm.
where was this pass like the first 50 games of the season? Because you could have made this pass, but you weren't doing it. And so, anyways, but go ahead.
And all
I
those
cut you
like
off. Yeah.
no, no, you're good. And then all those like floaters and stuff, right? Like he's like
Yeah.
facing up on Gobert, one-handed floater. I'm like, you can do that whenever, like you can do that
Yeah.
whenever you want. Like there's no way that like who Chicago Patrick Williams should not stop you from
Right.
like going off, right? And that's what happened in that first Chicago game. They sent two at him, and even the post game, you listen, you're like, yeah, I try to make the right play, like
Yeah.
80, why'd you take 8 shots? Oh yeah, I try, they sent
I
two at
play
me.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I play bad, and
But
he
yeah,
blames himself a lot of the
it's like,
times, which I
yeah.
yeah, which I appreciate. You want the players taking accountability. It's just can't be every 3 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where it gets rough. But no, he's been incredible, man. He's averaging 37, and I think he's averaging like 28 something and something since LeBron went down. I mean, I didn't expect us to be like 14-7 without LeBron. So I give him credit for that.
But
He's just like
like,
his I'll just close on this. His like he'll like tease you with games where you're
that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Go ahead.
there's no way a 12-8 should follow that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's where it's tough. He was just some other player than yeah, but like he gives you like 38 and 15, and then 2 games later you have like 15-7 in a game where you didn't even realize he was really on the floor, and he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's my fault. I played bad. I'm like, well, yeah, but I like
like you, like you kind of like it's like I know you don't. Yeah. So what I was gonna say is like I know you don't come to that realization at the end of the game. Like I'm pretty sure you're
mhm,
checking the box score at halftime. Like, I've only shot the ball about 6 times. I should probably shoot the ball a little bit more. And then like I said, I was the other joke I was gonna make is I was just in a group chat recently, and I literally said the line. I was just like, somebody asked a question like, "Oh, why is 80 turning up now?" Like, do you think it was because Ham was, trying to cater to Russ at the time when he was on the team? And I was like, we never catered to Russ. Like, like we moved him to the bench after Game 3. He wasn't closing games.
mhm,
Like he's playing. Even when 80 and LeBron were out, he wasn't even in the starting lineup. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't playing very many minutes. So it's just like 80, and so I just said like 80 has an inconsistent motor,
yeah,
and I think this is a thing that happens with a lot of folks on Twitter. It's just like when you are critical of a player, of his basketball thing, but you're a fan of the team, that doesn't mean
mhm,
you hate the player, but people take it like as like, so the people in the chat, they're responding to me, they're like, well, how dare you say he's the heart and soul of the team? I was like, I'm not saying he's not the heart and soul. I agree, he is the heart and soul of the team, which is why I'm saying he can't have an inconsistent motor because we rely on him to set the tone for the rest of the guys to do it. But I will leave it out at this topic, 80 thing. I need to see him do it consistently because if we play the Suns or we play the Kings, they're not going to double. They're going to play him straight up, and I need him to dominate his matchup so that then
yeah,
they do have to double him, and we can get it out to our to Reaves and Braun and our shooters and stuff like that. Like I need to, he can't do that in the playoffs. He can't just be cool for a game and be like, no, we go up 2-0. I don't need game 3. Like, it's all right. I'm just gonna pass it around. We're up 2-0. You know what I mean? Like I don't need that. Like I need him
yeah,
to be dominant all the way through.
yeah. Game one of 2021, it was just like, yeah, I'll just walk through this one, and then we just won the next two anyway because they're
Yeah.
just that good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he goes through these. He fluctuates in waves in terms of like his engagement, which, but like again, like this is a separate topic. But can we stop bringing in role players to like be the like the ruler of the team? Like we gotta stop this, and like because I remember like the point of bringing Pat Bev, Russ
Locker room guy.
obviously was brought in as a star, but Russ's also job of coming in was if you remember the headlines were like, yeah, he's gonna get 80 to be a
Yeah,
monster every
I said
night,
it.
right?
I was
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
Russ
yeah.
has
So
a
that
crazy motor, so he's gonna force 80 that you have to play Russ's style or else
yeah,
you
I
can't
thought
play
it would
together.
be I thought it would be I thought it'd be contagious, but it wasn't
Yeah.
really. And then he brought in a lesser player. He brought in Patrick Beverly to also be that role this year, right?
Nice.
Like if we stop this, and Patrick Beverly came out and said, "I'm a fork, not a spoon."
Yeah.
Do they not talk? Don't like forks and spoons are inanimate objects, Renee. They don't
I
speak.
love that. I love the metaphor though. It's so good.
No, but like forks and spoons don't talk to each other. A fork can't tell a spoon what it is, but Patrick Beverly can say if he's being used wrong in 60 and whatever 40 games, be like, hey, I'm not good this way. That's the whole reason he was brought in, to like have tough conversations, right? To be able to go to LeBron and say, remember when he came here, the media tour he did, and he's like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, if LeBron's missing a rotation, I'm gonna scream at him, or
right,
they're not playing with I'm not playing with them, they're playing with me. I'm the one who made the playoffs. All
right.
these quotations that just didn't muster up to much. I mean,
And then what did he say? He said that they wouldn't listen to me. First, they have to listen to a
oh
first year head coach, then
yeah,
LeBron, then AD, then Russ. And I was just like, what are you talking about? Because this is not what you guys are saying. Like, you remember there was a point where he said, oh shoot, there was something that he said. He like I can't remember what it was, but I remember for like a while, like you and I both said, we're like, dude, Pat, like you guys are saying he's a wing defender, and like every Laker fan, like I did that YouTube video on it,
mhm,
where I was like 30 minutes where I pulled clips. I was like, dude, he is not a wing defender. Whatever you guys
oh
think he is, that like whoever's telling you that, that's not what this is, and like that was like one of the things I was actually sad about all season that I was right about, and like I didn't want to gloat about it, so I was just like it's just basketball. We can see it. Like Vando is a wing defender. Pat
yeah,
Beverly is not a wing defender. Like, and it's not anything to do with him as personality or his motor. It's just he doesn't have the size to match up against taller
he's
wings.
6'1". He's
Yeah,
6'1".
and
We threw him on Brandon Ingram for a
yeah,
game in New Orleans, and we got cooked,
yeah.
as we should. So yeah, it's weird. I mean, Lonnie as well. You can throw him in here. He was playing small forward. He's not a small
Yeah, he's
forward,
playing
but
power forward for some lineups, and then like people are like "Oh, he has the worst plus minus in the league," and I'm like, dude, are you guys looking at the lineups that we're running with him like in there? Like, of course he can't play. Like he has some defensive issues himself, but it's
yeah, yeah,
like the same like Vando. Like Vando's had inconsistent minutes based on just how teams are playing off of him and stuff like that. So if he has a game where he misses a bunch of layups at the rim, then he can't play on the floor. They gotta go in a different direction. But like his plus minus is not indicative of the impact of what he does on the
at all.
floor. And
Mm-mm.
so like I think like we did this whole exercise with Russ for a year and a half. Like now I think Laker fans are starting to understand like if I'm watching the game, I understand that the reason why that Vando's minutes are bad are because we already had a 17-point lead. And the opposing team went on like an 8-0 run when he was on the floor, but the game's already over. So he's a -5 or some shit like that for the end of the game. But it's just Pat is Pat is a funny guy, man. Just everything he said, and then exactly what he said, like everything he said beforehand, and then everything he's been saying afterwards. And I'm just like, bro, what was going on in this locker room? And it reminds me of we were talking about giving Ham his props. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't think people understand like when Braun hurt his foot against Dallas, the very next day or the day after, maybe like the second day, ESPN, like Dave McMenamin, like if you follow me, I'm always like adding Dave McMenamin because I don't like the way he writes. And I don't care for him as as a writer, at least. Um, but like he goes and he does his show, which looks like my show and your show with another person. I think it's with Ohm or something like that that he does a
Mm-hmm.
show with. And he goes out and he says, LeBron's foot injury is very severe, and
Mm-hmm.
people within the Lakers locker room have been questioning Ham for playing LeBron too much. And I was sitting there and I was just like, when did this happen? Like when did this, like you just got that now? Like somebody just told you that like yesterday? They waited all season to tell you that? But then Raj, you take that story, that incident and that story, and then you fast forward to the fact that McMenamin reports an injury return timeline. LeBron refutes it and then comes back the very next game. So it's just like, but the thing that bothers me always is like, Laker fans sometimes take it as gospel. Like, oh, it's McMenamin and he's ESPN, so he's looking. Read who you want, listen to who you want. I'm not going to tell you not to, but it's just like I almost feel like making a website to keep track of this stuff to find out who's actually like just making shit up when it happens. And like I thought to myself, I was like, dude, if I don't think it got as much coverage as it could have, but like imagine the star player saying I got injured because you played me too much for the first 50 games of the
Mm-hmm.
season. Like that, you would get fired. Like a coach could get fired for something. And you're talking about LeBron James, like a coach could get fired. So it's like I have to give props to him because
Yeah.
whether it was true or not, maybe LeBron talked to him on the backside and said, "Look, this didn't come from me. I don't know who's saying this. They're making it up." But like, that's not an easy situation to navigate. You know what I mean? And so it's. I give props to them, man. I give props to everybody right now. The players are playing,
Yeah.
our stars are playing, our coach is coaching, we're doing stuff, and we have a good chance of making noise in the playoffs, man. So
It's crazy. I wonder when we get, because we're eventually get to that point where it stops becoming house money, right? Because that's where we're
yeah,
at right now. Everything is house money, and there's a
yeah,
point at which it's going to flip. I don't know when that is. I don't know if that's, like you said, if we beat Phoenix the first round, how, to use LeBron term, greedy we get. You know what I mean? Like how greedy the team or the
I
fans
got in
get.
so much trouble for talking about that. Go ahead, yeah,
But I already like. Oh yeah, you did.
yeah.
But
Brown fans were not happy that I
oh
was
no.
pointing out the double standard. But go ahead, it's fine.
But no, but like I already see the shift media wise. Like this is what
Sure.
media does, and I think you kind of spoke to this too. It's kind of, they'll bring you up to bring you down, right? It's kind
Yeah,
of
for
the
sure,
way
for
media
sure.
works. I mean, if you see the Mavericks coverage, I mean, it's just Luka Doncic has turned into, the worst person ever. And like, I'm
Yeah,
like, dude, this dude made the conference finals last year. Like, are we sure
yeah,
that's the guy you wanna tear down? But yeah, like, so I think it's interesting. I'm seeing it with the Lakers kind of flip. And just side note, like, imagine next year Dallas brings Patrick Beverly in there and being like, "Hey, you're gonna make sure this team's defends." Can we stop doing that as
no,
organizations, please? That
yes.
doesn't work. That has to come
Please,
from
bring in actual defensive guys, not guys who are going to
yes,
motivate people. Like we have
yeah.
coaches to tell them what to do. Like we don't need to. Yeah, yeah, it's very
If your superstar has to be told by like a role player that like he has to defend, your team's going nowhere. Your
right.
team has no chance. Terrence Mann can't go to Kawhi, be like, you missed that rotate. Like, come on, like that's
It's
not
happening.
happening.
Yeah,
Like that's not happening in the league. But yeah, like I could really see the media flip. So I'm interested how, like, when that happens for the fans and stuff, because I think most people are still in this like really happy go lucky
yeah,
phase, and I think that shift is coming
yeah,
soon. Like, it's a very even like the deal stuff, like, oh, hope he comes back, like,
yeah.
like it's very happy right now, and I'm wondering when that shift comes. But
I think if they beat the Clippers, the noise will get louder.
oof,
The house money stuff will go away, and then we have a game against the Suns. I don't know if they're going to play all their guys, if it matters to them whether they
mm-hmm,
win or lose that game. But if we play both of those games and the Lakers win that game,
oof,
um, I think it's going to get very, very real. You know how you'll
yeah,
know? It's when the conversation shifts from here come the Lakers to how does this affect LeBron's legacy if he makes a finals? When
mm.
the conversation switches to that, that's when you know that they'll be taking him seriously. So
Y-
that's my indicator. So when Windhorse comes out and says, "Oh,
oh,
this
you
would be
you
a
didn't listen
feather
to
in,"
the you you
here
didn't
it
listen to the
goes.
Hoop Collective yet, right?
No, no,
Oh, Windhorse is already on like they're they're beating their first round of, like, he is already there. I mean, if
yeah,
you
man.
listen to him, to be fair to him, he was kind of on the like at the trade line. He was kind of like, oh, this team's like legit. This team is good, whatever.
Yeah,
I think even I was skeptical that they can kind of make a run like this. I didn't think they'd go like
yeah.
14-7 or whatever after the
Yeah,
trade
you said like
deadline.
what,
So
50 something, 52 win
yeah,
pace in
I
order to
was
get
like,
into the
yeah,
playoffs. Yeah.
yeah, and so I was hoping for like a play-in berth, but obviously I didn't see Dallas imploding like this. Like, that's not something
Yeah,
I
some
saw.
teams have been bad. Minnesota lost, Pelicans losses, Clippers
Yeah.
losses. Yeah.
Well, New Orleans has started to really pick it up, right? So they've gone on a heater. Clippers have fallen back to earth after winning all those games, and then Paul George out again. This is like the fourth year. What, they've had one good like playoff with them, I
It was the
guess. Have they
bubble
had
run.
one?
It was the bubble run.
Yeah, that's the one they lost. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. They're about to be year 5, Vinay, of Paul George and Kawhi after this. Like, that's
He's Ballmer's going to keep it together. He's got an arena to open, so he has to have two stars that are there because Kawhi's not doing it. That guy's he's not going to like he'll if he's got to take pictures for a billboard, that's perfectly fine. But if he's got to talk on camera, Kawhi's not wasting his time doing that. So he's got to have two stars there. I honestly think Russ is helping them out. Like they
oh
won
yeah,
that
he's
game
been
against
against Memphis. Yeah,
Memphis, but I think they needed like a guy that a personality to like aside from Paul George to be part of that team. And I think that Clipper fans have really kind of gotten behind him too, behind Russ too, especially since
so,
he's
so
kind of
So
integrated
when
with them.
teams don't like win like they do, they start to sell a little bit of their soul, right? And I see this happen a lot. And Clipper fans didn't like Reggie Jackson, and
Yeah.
obviously, he has a Dennis Schroeder about him, right? Where
Yeah.
like he's not good 3 quarters and he'll have 3 clutch 3s, and we know all
Yeah.
about it, right? He had a game
Yeah.
winner on us over Austin Reaves. Was great for them in their conference finals run. I was
Yeah.
at the game where he just torched Utah. But they started to sell a little bit of their soul. But my like hot take is that they go in for Kyrie this summer. Like I think that's their. I think they're just gonna sell the complete. They're just gonna sell their whole soul this summer and be like, we're going 3 stars and we're just gonna go for it because Kawhi and Paul George, let's be real, are never gonna be like at top bill health. So I think they
Yeah.
just go full on talent. I think that's what they go for, but
I
it's interesting.
think I don't know if they do it this offseason because they got Russ. Because I think they will bring Russ back.
You think he signs back?
I think that was one of the conditions to Russ going there was that they have something in place, like the taxpayer on the league or whatever it is, like that they decide to give him something in place to keep him. I think the Eric Gordon, Mason Plumlee, Bones
They've been
Highland,
great for them.
I think those moves we're going to move a couple more guys this offseason, and these are the pre-moves before those moves get made. Moves. And I think Russ was one of those guys too that like they like when they let Reggie Jackson go, I think you're right. They closed a chapter of kind of that era. They traded Luke Kennard. They closed a chapter there.
Yeah.
Like and I think there is going to I think they're going to shuffle the deck a little bit. Like again, Russ was durable he wasn't good for us. The fit wasn't good, but he was a durable player. And one of the issues that the Clippers have is durability when it comes to their 2 stars. But they play differently. They have more shooters and all that sort of. We just talked about the guy, Marcus Morris. If they have a deal to move him, they'll move him, I think. I don't think he's going to be there next year. But this is me obviously just speculating and stuff like that. But like I think they are trying to keep one foot in both places. Like if we don't make a finals run this year, we kind of know what direction we're going to go in the offseason next year. I don't know who that's going to be, if it's a third star or what it's going to be, but it'll be very interesting to see what they do. But it's a lot, man. Forget the Clippers, forget everybody else. Like the Lakers have been through a lot. It's just 21 games or whatever so far. We got 4 or 5 left, but like I feel like this season has been like 3 seasons long, honestly.
Dude, this is what like game. It's like game 6 of LeBron, AD, D'Lo. Like 6 out of like 20 games, we've got those 3 together. Just with those 3, you already have an injury, like history in like in less than half a season. So and they've been great. I mean, the basketball fit has just been incredible. I did not expect it to fit this well this quickly. They're number 1 in defense, Vinay, since the All-Star break. I mean, just it's been so good to watch good basketball. And again, why I'm in this like let's just enjoy, good hoops for a little while. I don't know how long that'll last. The NBA is not forgiving in that sense, but it's been fun.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really all I have for this live stream, Raj. This was a lot of fun. We could probably do live streams more, so we could go through chats. And we'll probably maybe the next time we do this, we'll kind of do like I sprung this up last minute. We'll do some advance notice and people can hop in and give their chat stuff or whatever. We need to do post game or do it impromptu like we did before. But as always, I appreciate you joining. Did you have any last thoughts? We got a back-to-back, but we got a game tomorrow. Any thoughts about the game?
Let's not walk over Utah. Make sure to step over them correctly. Respect and have an appropriate preparation for them. This team feels like it's rolling. Vinny, I don't feel like tomorrow's gonna be. And obviously Utah has a lot of people out. Walker Kessler has a concussion, so I think he's out. They already have Clarkson and all those guys out. Markkanen is questionable, so we'll see. Maybe he'll suit up. But I think they want to lose. They're a game up or down, however you say, in the lottery let's close on this, Vinay. Did you see Wembanyama take a step back 3 and
nuts, dude? I mean, how do you even box it? How do you even box that out? Like some people are like, oh yeah, you just got to box him out. How do you box him out? He can just reach over you and probably take the rebound anyways and tip it back in. So it's like that's nuts.
It doesn't look real, right? He
Yeah.
does not look like doesn't look like a real player. It just looks all created AI. It just does not look.
Yeah.
Man, I hope he comes to summer league. Honestly, like I'm hoping that's I'm hoping we
Him,
get to
him,
see him.
and him and Chet. Like Chet's been like Chet was the number 2 pick. He's been out all season. Like we're gonna
Right.
get 2 legit floor spacing big men as starters. Like you look at Walker Kessler for Utah, and like
Yeah.
I followed Tony Jones on the Athletic, and he's been reporting like Walker Kessler already looks really good, and he's not necessarily like the same floor spacing threat that Chet and Wembanyama are. So it's like we might see a return of the big man, but like a different type of like a more Hakeem Olajuwon or like a different type of big man, a 3-and-D big man, but one that can put up that doesn't look like Embiid or is that heavy like him, or a defensive guy like Gobert. It's like a different breed of big man that just changes the way the game's played. So I'm fascinated to see what he looks like, man. I think basketball is going in a very
Yeah.
interesting direction, new era of style of play. So it'll be interesting to see, man.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
but yeah, like I'm with you. I think tomorrow's a trap game. We shouldn't sleep on the Jazz. We should respect them and beat them. Like they're a fully healthy team, and then that'll set the table for what I expect Wednesday to be a complete shit show on the timeline.
May just stay offline for that one. May just.
During. I'm playing basketball most likely Wednesday night, so I'm definitely. I
Oh
don't know what time
wow.
that game's at, so I'm going to like not watch that game until like afterwards, just because I don't want to deal with
Probably
it, dude, because it's
decision.
just going to be hella annoying.
You
If
know
I
we
say
haven't
something
we
like,
haven't beat we haven't beat the Clippers in 3 years. Renee.
well,
3 years
we
we
lost
have
what,
zero.
12 straight to them?
12, yeah, I believe it's 11 or 12 straight to Ty
Yeah.
Lue, right? So our last win was on the Doc Rivers Clippers in the bubble. Since then, they've beaten us every single time. What a way to win, though. I mean, if you win this one, you pass them in the standings. I mean, that is
That
that
would
is
be
a
the most Adam Silver's WWE script possible. Russell Westbrook starting for the Clippers. Lakers beat them. This would be fucking pandemonium. And we knocked them out of the playoffs into the
uh,
play-in. It'd be
couldn't script
nuts.
it better. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But as always, Raja, I appreciate you. I appreciate the folks that were in the chat. James, Kings, Jelani, Raul, Adrian, everybody who commented. We'll definitely get to the questions a little bit more next time. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll give better advance notice when it comes to this. But it looks like this test run was pretty good, Raj. So maybe we'll do this a little bit more
Yeah.
moving forward. But as always, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the Laker fans that tuned in to the stream. So we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.